Chelsea fans, welcome back to Talking Chelsea. Welcome back to your Chelsea news. Chelsea are facing a massive problem securing a new front of shirt sponsor. And we also have some transfer updates regarding Mike Maginan, Kobbie Mainoo, Marc Guiu and Fermin Lopez. Now, of course, I'll be giving my own thoughts and opinions on everything that's been reported, but more importantly, I want to know what you guys think down below in the comments. Before we get into the video, make sure you leave a like and subscribe if you are a Chelsea fan who enjoys Chelsea content. We're on the road to 10k subscribers by the end of 2025. You can also use the hype button, which is a new YouTube feature which helps push this video out to a bigger audience. Kicking things off, the Mirror Football have reported that Chelsea have made a series of key decisions ahead of the January transfer window, including ruling out a move for AC Milan goalkeeper Mike Maignan. They are ultimately happy with Robert Sanchez for the time being and will stick with him between the sticks for the foreseeable future. This is such sad news. It's sad news. Now, I've said this many a times with you guys in the comment section, and we've had loads of discussions about Sanchez and Jorgensen and Mike Maignan, and you guys know how I feel about this. I feel like this is a perfect opportunity to go and secure a world-class goalkeeper. And a lot of you guys still keep saying, you're gonna block the pathway of Mike Penders. I've spoken about my way around that. I feel like if you are going to go get someone like Mike Maignan, who is available on a free transfer in the summer, who has so much experience, who is a better goalkeeper than Robert Sanchez, you're not going to block the path of Mike Penders, because you then have two expendable keepers in Sanchez and Jorgensen. You can get rid of both, you can get rid of one, and then you make that space for Penders, and Penders can come in and be the understudy of Mike Maignan, who is just going to ultimately have more experience and better knowledge than someone like Robert Sanchez and Jorgensen, in my opinion. Let me know your opinion down below in the comments regarding that situation. I just feel like this is really, really sad on Chelsea's behalf, because a world-class keeper like Mike Maignan, who, yes, you can argue the last couple of seasons he's been a bit of a decline, but he's still ultimately, in my opinion, better than Sanchez, especially with distribution, etc. And that's not just to throw shade at Sanchez. I've been very vocal, saying that Sanchez has improved. He's a very good shot stopper, and when we do have long ball distribution, he is amazingly good at that. His short passes and playing out from the back has also got better. It's not perfect. Still a few shaky, high-risk passes that are made from time to time, but he has improved. I'm not denying that. I'm not shying away from that. But I just think ultimately they're happy with Sanchez because they're obviously seeing the improvements and they feel like he can go on and be a world beater. I don't know if there is a world where Chelsea win a Premier League or win a Champions League with Robert Sanchez in the sticks. However, I didn't think Chelsea would win the Champions League with Edouard Mendy in the sticks when we very first signed him. Yes, he had an incredible campaign, and obviously you look back and go, what a keeper. He became UEFA's keeper of the tournament, etc. 100%, he was unbelievable. But when we first signed him, it was like, oh, who's this guy? Let's see how he does. And he grew into that season and had an unbelievable season. And the season after, he just dipped. So, it's one of those things. You never really know in football, and that's why we love the sport. But when it comes to Mike Maignan, you've got a keeper going for a free transfer who can sign pre-contract agreements in January. Chelsea, in my opinion, and a lot of you guys' opinion, need a goalkeeper, and we're just not even going to attempt it. I know that we went in for Maignan in the summer window, and we argued over like £3.5–4 million to get the deal over the line. So we were ultimately interested then. It was just a case of we couldn't agree a fee that Milan wanted, and we were happy to pay. So what's changed? Oh, Robert Sanchez has improved, and actually we're gonna put all our eggs into that basket because Mike Penders is coming through. Mike Penders is a fantastic keeper, a young protege that's learning. He's on another development season. He's doing really well at Strasbourg so far. Yeah, great. That's great for the long term. But I just don't see a world where we just stick Mike Penders in the sticks next season and go, right, there you go. Be the next Petr Cech. Be the next Courtois. You're that good potentially, but we need you to perform now. Or is Mike Penders going to come back to Chelsea next season and then compete for that number one spot over a season, and Sanchez is still going to be number one? That looks like it's what's going to happen, but I don't know. Obviously, I'm not an expert. I'm an armchair fan, man. We all are. We all have voices and opinions about that, and I love having a conversation with you guys about it. I just don't see a world where that makes sense. I mean, only because we have the opportunity to go sign someone like Mike Maignan. It just makes so much sense in my opinion, because, we didn't go for Donnarumma. Unbelievable goalkeeper, highest ranking in the Ballon d'Or this year, so the best keeper in the world currently on that sort of accolades. He's gone to Man City, big money, big wages. Fair enough. Chelsea are never going to pay that. That's fine. But he was also free and available. And now Mike Maignan, his AC Milan career was kind of question marks, wanted to leave, and again we just didn't get over the line. So I just feel like we were so heavily invested in the summer. And then because of that squabble over 3 or 4 million, we've now gone, we're not interested at all. And I just think that's a bit sad, if I'm being honest, because it's just a prime opportunity. Someone will come in and get Mike Maignan and we'll go, wow, what a signing that's going to be for that club. Now, you can argue whether Mainoo is a massive upgrade on Sanchez or not. I just think all round he's a better keeper. And again, not throwing shade at Sanchez. I've acknowledged the fact that he has improved over time, and I do actually quite like Sanchez. I just don't know if he's the keeper to take us to the heights of Premier League, Champions League winners. But I'm happy to be proved wrong. I am more than happy to be proved wrong. I also feel it's unfair to put so much pressure on Mike Penders and be like, yeah, don't worry. We're just going to wait for this kid for the next 4 or 5 years because he's going to be unbelievable. I don't know. I feel like that's a bit naive, because you need something now that's at a very high standard so he can come in and take the mantle and kind of surpass it. So if he does come in and take Sanchez's place, great. He's obviously a better keeper than Sanchez at that stage, but then he's also got to take that level higher and be consistently good at it. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with Chelsea, but ultimately they have ruled out a move according to the Mirror. Now, I know it's paper talk, things can change, so whether or not this is concrete or just fugazi or waffle, I don't really know, but I'd love to know your thoughts and opinions down below regarding the situation. And the only reason I like to hang on the Mike Maignan situation so much is purely because he's one of the best keepers that are ultimately available right now. You can go in and talk about the likes of Donnarumma or Diogo Costa or Mamadashvili, all these keepers that have recently moved. They've recently moved or they're happier where they are. Mike Maignan is literally going for a free. So I just feel like this could be a poor missed opportunity on Chelsea's behalf, but I'd love to know your thoughts down below. Team Talk have reported that Chelsea could target Manchester United and England midfielder Kobbie Mainoo, but a move is more than likely at the end of the 25-26 season than January. The 20-year-old requested a loan move over the summer. Now, I really like Kobbie Mainoo as a player. I really, really like him as a player, and I feel like he's just going to kick on. He's another one of those players that plays mature football for his age. He's beyond his years in that sense. Very intelligent footballer, bags of ability, showcases that skill, relatively consistent in that Manchester United team when he was playing. He's obviously fallen out of favour recently, whether or not it's a tactical decision, a personality clash, an ability question. I don't really know. But I really like Kobbie Mainoo, and I think a lot of fans, yourselves included, rate him. He's a good player. He's going to definitely go on and become someone. I just don't see that this makes sense in Chelsea's eyes, purely because, like I've said many, many times, we've got 5 players to play the role that he plays. You've got Asugo, Santos, Caicedo, Enzo, Lavia when he's fit. That's 5. So if we add Kobbie Mainoo in, we're also, apparently after Adam Wharton, that's 7. If we was to get them. So then other players have to move on. So the only way I could see this happening is if Chelsea were going to Kobbie Mainoo is because we're offloading other players. Whether that is the likes of Lavia or Asugo or Andre Santos, God forbid, I just don't see it happening. I feel like Chelsea are very, very happy with them 5 players in the midfield core, because you have to admit, when we play Lavia, Caicedo and Enzo as that midfield 3, we look unbeatable. We look unbelievable. It hasn't happened very often, admittedly, because of injury issues, etc. But when we do play it, we think, wow, this is insane. So if Lavia, and it's a big if Lavia can stay fit, we can see that rotation and see them those 3 play a lot more. I think we've got one of the best midfields in the Premier League, especially centrally, with those 5 players available when they're fit. So, look, Kobbie Mainoo, again, it could be a market opportunity that Chelsea want to kind of buy and flip on, which I think would be a massive waste of time. Yes, we'd make money on Kobbie Mainoo, but I don't feel like he's going to want to play football. He's just going to want to play football. Maybe he wants to come to Chelsea. I'm not entirely sure. There were obviously rumours about it over the summer, but it asks more questions than it answers, in my opinion. I wouldn't say no to Kobbie Mainoo. I just wouldn't know how we play him and who does he replace and who do we move on. The only way I see that happen is if we move someone on of those 5 that play in his position. That's just my opinion. But I'd love to know your thoughts and opinions down below regarding Kobbie Mainoo. Would you take him at Chelsea? If we did, who do we get rid of to make space for Kobbie Mainoo? Fabrizio Romano has reported that Fermin Lopez remains and will remain on Chelsea's target list for the next years in case he ever decides to leave. This just gives off stalker ex-girlfriend vibes. Or ex-boyfriend vibes, ex-partner vibes, right? It just gives off stalker. Because Fermin Lopez is like, I'm happy to stay at Barcelona, and Chelsea like, don't worry, we'll wait. We'll watch through the window. We'll watch from afar. We want you to sign for Chelsea at some point. You're very young, and we can just wait for years and years. Don't worry. We'll keep an eye on you. It's just very creepy, in my opinion. I don't know why I did that. That was also very creepy. But this just gives off this stalker vibes. I'm not going to lie. If he's happy at Barca, cool. Chelsea are going to keep him on the target list. That's also good, I suppose, for us in terms of the scouting, in terms of we value the player profile and the player himself, and know he's got a very high skill set that can be very much utilised in an Enzo Maresca or just a Chelsea system, whether it's Maresca or someone else in many years to come. So I kind of rate that at the same time, but it does give off very creepy vibes, in my opinion. And maybe that's just me looking into it a bit weird. I don't know. But no, I think Fermin Lopez is an amazing player. I think he's very, very good. He's very, very young and played a lot of games for Barca, and he's also had a good influence in goals and assists as well over the time that he's played, won trophies with Barcelona. He's obviously very happy there. That's fine. But Fabrizio is basically saying that, don't worry, Chelsea are just going to monitor him and keep an eye, look from afar and basically watch his career. And if he ever decides to leave, we are there. We are there with a big envelope saying, here's some money, come play for us. So, look, Chelsea's target list just gets forever and forever, longer and longer and longer, with more players being added to it. But yeah, I suppose it's nice to know that we are looking at someone like Fermin Lopez. Again, I think he'd be a mental addition to the squad. I think technically he's so good at breaking lines, very technical with the ball at his feet, can create chances, can finish as well. He's only going to get better, especially playing in a squad like he is playing in. So yeah, I think it makes a lot of sense. But yeah, I wanted to react to this and get your thoughts and opinions down below, because like I said, it just when you read that, for me, it just gives off stalker vibes. I don't know why. Maybe I'm just looking into it a bit weird, but let me know your thoughts and opinions down below. Gibby Sport have reported that Marc Guiu is eyeing a dramatic return to Sunderland during the January transfer window, despite the 19-year-old only being recalled from his loan spell at the Black Cats in August. He moved in the summer for some much-needed experience and game time, but his stay was cut short due to Chelsea's injuries in forward positions. He's played just 16 minutes of football since his recall to Chelsea. I feel so bad for Marc Guiu because it made so much sense on paper. We had these issues with the injuries. We went, I don't know what to do. We've just let Jackson go on loan. He doesn't want to come back. Fine, that's done. Let's recall Marc Guiu. Now, there was no recall clause in his loan. Sunderland and Chelsea spoke, and Sunderland went, you know what? Yeah, fair enough. That's cool. And the whole idea was Guiu goes to develop, because, again, I feel like Guiu's got a very positive, very bright future at Chelsea as long as he can develop his raw abilities and skills, right? And when we recalled him, it was like, oh, amazing. Guiu's going to get some minutes this season, and that'd be awesome. And then he didn't play. And then he didn't play again. And then he didn't play again. And we were going, what's going on? We have no forwards, and we're playing Tyreek George as a 9. Okay, what's going on here then? And then obviously it resurfaces that, Chelsea have to be very careful if they utilise Marc Guiu, because then he can't go out on loan in January because he can't play for 3 clubs. And a lot of you guys have said that in the comments based on yesterday's video. And there's a reason why I said that I think in January he will go, and this is the reason why. If he goes back to Sunderland, it still counts as 2 clubs. It's just the 2 clubs he's played for in the season, and I feel like Chelsea can do that. Sunderland will obviously welcome him back, because I don't think they really wanted to give him back. They were happy to do the loan in the first place. And look, he wasn't like walking into that Sunderland team and being their main number 9. He was obviously in rotation with their forwards. I think he scored a goal. I think it was in the second round of the Carabao Cup for Sunderland. He only played a handful of minutes, but he was playing well, and it just, he was going to get more game time and sharpen his abilities. So I think this makes a lot of sense, because I feel so bad for Marc Guiu, especially in the games where we've all sat here as armchair fans and even fans in the stands going, we've got a 9 on the bench. Can we please use him? And I feel like Maresca was kind of reserving him to, in case we had another injury in the 9 space and we had to use Marc Guiu, because then it eliminates the whole, well, we can't loan him in January, we're going to have to keep him this season, and then actually put him in rotation with your Delaps and João Pedros once they're fit. And that's what the vibe it kind of gave off. And when you start looking into it like that, you go, oh, maybe Maresca was playing that angle. But then we saw him get minutes against Liverpool. Happy to see him get minutes, but then you go, oh, okay, cool, so we're deciding to keep him. But the reality of it is he can go back to Sunderland in January on another loan, whether they kind of pick up where they left off or it's a new loan deal, from the January window onwards. However they kind of work it out contractually. But I don't blame Marc Guiu to be like, I want to go back, bro. I don't want to be here sat on the bench rotting and seeing wingers play as a 9 when I can go on and do a job and actually develop and get some game time. Maresca's been very nice and very positive about Guiu in terms of and also very transparent when it comes to Marc Guiu training and being ready. For a long time, Maresca was like, he isn't sharp enough. He isn't where we need him to be. He's working very well. He's working very hard, but he's not quite there yet. And I respect that from Enzo, because he's like, I'm not going to play a player for the sake of it. They have to go out and do a job for me, and I need to be trusting, and I need to have full faith that that player can go on the pitch and deliver what I need from him and go above and beyond that, consistently. So I kind of respect it to a point. If he's not quite ready, fair enough. But there's been a handful of chances where you go, just chuck him on. just chuck him on for 20 minutes and just see what he can do, because essentially we've got a 9 and he's rotting on the bench. So I don't know, maybe Chelsea will actually use him between now and January a little bit more. I know Delap is due to come back in November for training, more than likely middle end of November, start of December, to see him start playing again, depending on how well his recovery goes and how quick that is. So we might actually see a lot more of Marc Guiu now he's been introduced against Liverpool as that substitute. Maybe he is now sharp enough. He now fully understands what Maresca wants from him when he comes on the pitch. Maybe we see a rotation where João Pedro plays as that 10 and Guiu actually starts a game because he is ready to start, and Maresca's like, right, cool, this is the system we're playing. We're giving you the start. Just go and do your thing and basically do your job and see how well you can get on. Because I absolutely love Marc Guiu. It's not propaganda to say he's going to be the best in the world. I just love everything about him. His persona, his raw ability, the fact that we got him so cheap, like the fact that Chelsea want to use him in the future and how he can go and develop. I just hope that we handle it well. Because like I said, from the fans' perspective, we only get shown things that are reported, or this much of the news of what actually goes on behind the scenes. We only see what we're told or are allowed to see, right? But I just hope that Marc Guiu isn't just another player that kind of comes and goes in a Chelsea shirt. And they've been very active saying that they do rate him and they see a good future for him. So I just want him to develop in the best and most efficient way for him. I don't want him to rot on the bench for literally no reason when he could be getting game time somewhere like Sunderland, who are playing top division football. So be very interesting. I'd like to know your thoughts and opinions down below regarding Marc Guiu. Would you let him go back to Sunderland in January? Because that also asks a question: do we then bring in Amiga early from the pre-contract? Do we wait to the summer, or do we bring him in January and let Marc Guiu go on loan to Sunderland? So then we have them 3 strikers on rotation, and then we can have the questions and the debates and the development plans for Guiu in the summer, when we have the likes of Delap, Amiga and João Pedro in full rotation and in full fitness for a big period of, the second half of the season, essentially. So I'd like to know your thoughts and opinions down below regarding Marc Guiu. Would you let him go back on loan to Sunderland? Would you keep him at Chelsea and give him more game time? I'm very curious to know your thoughts. Kieran Maguire has spoke out on the front of shirt sponsor situation and how Chelsea are struggling to secure a new one. And he starts by saying the price that Chelsea have been quoting to sponsors has been one where everybody else has walked out the door. That's wild. Chelsea fervently believe, having won the Premier League in 2016 and therefore becoming the world champions in 2025, that the value of the club is significantly higher than what would appear to be the case from an advertiser's perspective. He goes on to say, it's great, for fans that don't like logos on the front of their shirts, it's absolutely wonderful. But when you've got Manchester United getting £70 million a year from Snapdragon, and you've got Liverpool with a really good deal with Standard Chartered, Spurs are probably on around 40 million with their sponsors, and so on, it does create a bit of a gap. You add that to the fact that Chelsea get lower matchday receipts compared to the big 6 clubs, and it means that they have to overwork, in my view, as far as the transfer market is concerned, in order to be competitive. Now, a lot of you guys are very concerned that we don't have a front of shirt sponsor, and I've spoken about this many times. Always like to keep you guys updated and react to things as they come out, and I'm very curious in terms of this side of Chelsea, because it's the first time in my life where we've had a sustained period with no front of shirt sponsor. I know it's not the first or last time it will happen, but the first sustained period we've gone through. And personally, as a fan like you guys, I really like the kits without the shirt sponsors. I do think they look really clean. However, I fully understand that from a business perspective, we're missing out on a bag every year. We do so well in the transfer market to generate revenue when it's buying and selling players. We're winning trophies, which is like extra winning money on top. We don't sell as much tickets on match day compared to the big 6 because we have a limited cap at Stamford Bridge. And that whole do we rebuild, do we move, that argument's been going on for well over 25 years, and it will continue to go on for another 10 years. It's just one of those things. When you add up the ways that Chelsea could be making money but don't, you go, we're actually missing out on a lot of money a year, which then helps other parts of the club. So, yes, I didn't know that Manchester United were getting £70 million a year from Snapdragon. That is absolutely wild. That a club like Manchester United, considering how bad they've been for a number of years now and how rocky and roller coaster that has been as a club, it's literally fallen apart, leaks in the roof and all sorts, toxic from the inside out, from the top to the bottom. However you want to look at it, this isn't me just throwing shade. They're just the facts that even United fans are saying, and we can all see it from a mile away. They're getting £70 million a year from Snapdragon. That's wild. Liverpool obviously going to have a really good deal, Premier League champions, and they've been they're at the height of their game, have been for many, many years, all alongside City, etc. Obviously, City are out of this because they do some weird sponsorship stuff, which they're obviously being looked at for. I think they were clear of that, to be fair. Spurs on £40 million. Yes, they've just won the Europa League, fair play to them, but You know, realistically, Spurs are getting £40 million, and the Spurs, they've got a good brand, of course. So when you look at it like that, and Chelsea not getting anything, one, it makes me laugh that we're asking for money that everyone's like, yeah, nah, bye. I'm not even entertaining this conversation, because of course we are. Of course we are. That's why we've not been able to strike a deal for many years, because we're probably going to go, we want 100 M's. That's what we want, 100 M's a year for 25 years. We're doing something absolutely ludicrous. Now, we know that other guy got booted. I can't remember his name off the top of my head. He got booted out of his role, and we've hired some other people to come in to fix this issue. But it's nice to know that there's a bit of clarity and transparency with the fans in terms of why this has taken so long. Obviously, there's no cutoff or deadline of when we need to have one done. But we know that the club for the last 2 years have been saying, look, just wait. We're going to secure the bag with a long-term sponsor, and we'll do it when it's right. And it's got to be the right deal for the long-term sort of sponsorship. And we're kind of like, yeah, all right, cool. We just palm it off. And now we are the world champions. Now we did win the Conference League. We are at the height of advertisers and getting eyeballs into our club. We're back in the Champions League. Everything's going our way. I don't feel from an advertiser's perspective they're going to get much more unless you are consistently winning the Champions League or consistently winning the Premier League year on year for 4 or 5 years, that then you can go, actually, do you know what? Now we can go get the big deal, you know? And look, whether you view the Club World Cup as an important trophy, a minor trophy, a pre-season, whatever, in eyes of an advertiser, in eyes of how the club are going to use it to market our club for the next 4 years, is unbelievably detrimental, and the ROI on that's going to be mental for whatever sponsor comes in and secures that deal. However, Chelsea cannot be greedy, and it sounds like they're being very, very greedy. Very, very greedy. Now, we knew that Chelsea were asking for around 60 million a year. Well, now I know that Manchester United are getting 70 million a year from Snapdragon. It doesn't actually sound too ludicrous. Now, I fully understand before people say, well, Manchester United are a bigger club and Manchester United are historic. 100%. They are one of the biggest clubs in the world. So that's why if we're competing with them directly and going for 70 plus, I can understand why advertisers are saying no, because the brand of Manchester United has been going on for so long. It's so big worldwide that yes, they can warrant a bigger package, even though they've been underperforming, not really won a lot in the last sort of 10 years, really. I know they won the odd FA Cup here and there, and fair enough, or was it Europa League, etc. They've won bits here and there, but overall they've been subpar ever since Alex Ferguson retired, let's be real. They've had some moments, and that's about it. But for Chelsea to be the world champions, we also have a big worldwide brand. And obviously we've got the last 25 years of competitive history where we've been winning everything that goes in our favour. We've had the likes of Samsung, and we had Fly Emirates as well. And, you know, we've had all sorts, Adidas to Nike in terms of shirt providers. We've had loads of Yokohama tyres, had loads of good partnerships and good deals. I just don't understand how Chelsea can't secure something if you go, well, United are on 70, we want like 60, and we're the current world champions for the next 4 years. You know, it is what it is. You're going to get a good ROI on that because you could brand the hell out of it. You just can. So it's just very interesting for me. I know I've been waffling about this, and a lot of you don't really care about the business side, and that's more than fair. But I'm just curious to know your thoughts. It's nice to get a bit of transparency, a bit of clarity from the club to say this is what the issue actually is. We are being laughed at in the ballroom. They're going, we want this. And they go, no, see you later. I'm getting on the next plane home. That's just not even worth entertaining. So are Chelsea being greedy? Are the advertisers not seeing the vision? What do you think would be, it's quite a hard question really, but what do you think would be the right amount that Chelsea could ask for, which is fair in terms of what we receive and also for the advertisers for a long-term partnership? I think that we should be able to get at least 50, 55 million. And that seems about fair. If Spurs are getting 40 million and we're the world champions, it's still not more than United. And I don't see us getting more than that a year because then we just won't have a shirt sponsor. But then when I think the longer this goes on, it's more revenue we're not generating from that facet. We do have to work harder in the transfer window. And we're also, we're just not making money from that. We can't rely on just winning trophies every year, even though we'd love to see that as fans, and that's what we strive to do. But we can't try and plan in the forecast, we're going to get an extra X amount of million for winning this, because we might not. Football's football. So it's just a bit concerning that this seems to be such a simple job that most football clubs, if not all football clubs, get sorted, whether it's in the pre-season or on a well in advance. Chelsea just haven't seemed to get it done. So just very curious to know your thoughts about it down below in the comments. And that's the latest Chelsea news. Let me know your thoughts and opinions on everything that's been reported down below in the comment section. I love having a conversation with you guys. And if you have watched this video all the way to the end, firstly, you're a real one, and I mean that, you're a real one. But secondly, there'll be a thumbnail appears on the screen. So if you are a Chelsea fan who enjoys Chelsea content, make sure you click that thumbnail because you'll enjoy that video too.